Our stories, our voice, our history hasn't always been welcomed. But we learned long ago that if America won't celebrate us, then we will celebrate our own, told our way, on our time. Today we have thousands of Black creators in film. Thousands of books are on the shelves of stores around the world. But it wasn't always as easy. For Lena, for Hattie, for James, for Zora, for Langston, we fought for a place in American history, and we've empowered our own voices, keeping our stories alive. Remember Philando, remember Mike, remember Trayvon, remember Sandra, remember Oscar, remember Brianna. No more will Black voices go unheard. No more will Black stories go unread. We will write our own history and create our own legacies. And each summer in Atlanta, we will gather. We will celebrate. We speak out. Black voices matter. Black stories matter. Black lives matter. Everybody has a story to tell. Make sure that you tell yours. Create your story. Dream out loud. They're not gonna let people like me be recognized. They're not gonna let me in the room. Fuck it. I'm gonna make my own room. I had all these dreams and things I wanted to do, and I wanted to basically be this published artist. I began to realize, wait, I gotta pull back because what am I looking for? What am I seeing?
Hey, everybody, it's me, now and forever to be known as your fave, Jazz on Fire, and you are watching In Creative Color. So every fourth Sunday, you'll see me hosting Sunday Craft Chat. So if you see me, it's fourth Sunday, and I can't wait to dive into our conversation today. Our amazing guest is no other than Miss Alicia Monai. Hey, Alicia, how are you?
I'm good, love. How are you?
I'm good. All right, y'all. So first of all, again, as always, the guests that come up here are going to be stacked. So I got to read y'all Alicia's bio, give a little bit about her. She's a Pennsylvania native residing in the state of Georgia. So come on, Atlanta, we here. And in addition to being an author and spoken word artist, she's an independent contractor teaching art and music to elementary school children. She has an associate's degree in creative writing and is currently working on an art therapy certification with a focus in helping individuals with autism and other medical conditions. So she has participated in film festivals in Georgia, on one of which she was nominated for Best Screenplay. Come on, give it up. And she's been published in 2 anthologies and 1 literary magazine. And then she's also a multi-published author. So y'all got to give it up for Alicia. Alicia, what about you?
Thank you, love. I appreciate you. That feels like a lot when you read it like that. It just feels like, oh my.
Because it is, and you should be proud. We're proud. I'm proud. All the folks watching are proud. You're officially a part of the family. Okay, so before we hop into the conversation, as always, I tell y'all, come on in the room. And it is Sunday, so I would be remiss without giving honor to the ultimate creator. So I'm gonna just pray us in, and then we're gonna hop into this conversation. All right? Yeah. All right. Dearly beloved Father, the ultimate creator, we thank you that your creative grace flows through our veins, God. We thank you for who you are and what you have painted around us and in us, God, to also share with your people. We pray, Holy Spirit, that this conversation would be soul food for whoever is watching, God. Give them the hunger and the thirst, God, to create or to search for the creator. And either way, God, whatever it is, whether this conversation reaches 1 million or just 1, God, we will give you the glory. In your mighty, matchless name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Right. So, Alicia, oh my gosh, you got to tell the folks, who are you? What is tea?
Oh, girl. Long story short, because I would just call myself, a person who loves the Lord and just wants to be obedient. I am a person that just wants to whatever I'm built to do, whatever God has me to do, I just want to do it. I'm a person who loves life. I love love. I love people. I love having fun. I love joy. I love all things, joyous and happy, and all things creative, obviously. Being an artist, being an author, being a singer, so many things in the art realm that I enjoy doing. But I know those are not my identity, right? Those are just things that, I'm made to do. And so just doing all those things to the glory of God and just trying my best to honor him with all of the things he's placed in me, because it's not really about me, right? So I'm just the vessel. I'm just here.
That is beautiful. I love that. You're already knocking off talking points. And I really was gonna emphasize that. I always like to ask, everybody who comes up here is a creative, but I want to know who you are outside of your creations. As you can see in the ticker, this show was inspired by the Twitter trend, the art versus the artist. And so if you remember, or if you don't, it was essentially on Twitter, like different creatives, mostly actual artists, would post like a picture of their art, and then they would post themselves, and it's like, oh wow, like you created that, or it's like, wow, like I would have never thought you were the person behind this. And so I really wanted to use this show, this platform, to uplift creatives of colors, of course, but also to really delve into like what it looks like to be the person creating these things. So I absolutely love that. That's beautiful. But I gotta ask, like, where did it begin? Take us back to the beginning. What was the first time you created something? And I know that's hard, but it's like, when you can remember, or maybe you can pull from the first time you created something, you were like, wow, this is who this is what I do. This is who I am. This is what God wants me to do.
The funny thing is, I actually remember that vividly. So I was actually 11. I was 11 years old, and my mother and grandmother were writers, and their poetry was so good. I used to be really inspired by their poetry. And so one day I was at my mother's computer at her desk, and I decided to write a poem about the rain. I asked her if I could borrow her computer, and she let me on there, and I wrote a poem about the rain, and I loved it. I was so happy with it because I was a big nature person. I still am a nature person. And so reading that back, I just felt like, oh yeah, I'm a writer. I was like, I'm in there, and it was good. And so ever since then, writing was a thing. I was writing fan fiction about boy bands and girl,
all the things,
but poetry was the one that really, really stuck, poetry and stories. And so as I got older, it was something that was always a thing for me, even if I just needed to write therapeutically, if I just needed to, write my emotions out, I was always writing. Always. And I always wanted to create stories. Like there was just a big thing in me to create. It kind of didn't really matter what it was. I had art classes and things. I was like, oh, art is fun. These are, all of these things are fun. But writing was the one that just stuck. So when I was about 18, I started, really getting into spoken word poetry. And I was like, okay, I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Mics and different things like that. And I was like, okay, I'm really getting into a groove here. I was nervous as all get up, but it was really like, okay, that's when it really hit me that poetry was it for me. That was the thing that was like, okay, this is what I see myself doing. I was also doing art as far as performance art. I liked acting. I did shows in high school. I performed, different plays and things like that. And I love that too. So all art levels kind of came to me at different points of my life. And so I did that. I kind of put those things together, like, oh, I can write and perform on stage. Yeah. I can, this is cool, and then getting older, I got into choirs. That's when I realized I enjoyed singing. I loved music, and then
But you've always known you could sing.
Ish.
Because I can carry a tune, but I ain't really. So if I go join a choir, am I gonna? Wait a minute.
Listen. I always told myself that was a big battle for me when it came to music. Music was a big battle for me because I loved singing. I loved it. I loved to do it, but there was a whole bunch of things that went into insecurity for me. Like, yes, I like singing, but can I sing? Like, if are people going to enjoy my voice? And at the time, a lot of people really didn't. Like, I was, told a couple things about my voice that kind of, pushed me to the side with it a little bit. But I did get accepted into choirs and chorus groups, and I loved it. So I ran with it. But then it always went back to writing, even writing songs at that point. Like, it always went back to writing, no matter what I've done. And so, dibbling and dabbling in all these art forms, it always came to my attention that you can consider yourself a creative, and that be okay, but writing was still like my foundational, art form. And then everything just kind of grew from there. And as far as being an artist, like a painter, that didn't come until I was about 23, 24. At the time, we were struggling with homelessness, and I needed some sort of something, to hold on to. And so the three of us were stuffed in this like 1-bedroom apartment, and we're just like making it through. And one day I was going to Michael's, and I was like getting something for work. And I said, canvases are on sale. Never had it. You know what? I'm going to buy canvases and I'm going to paint. That's exactly what it was. And it was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I went home, went into the room, and I just started painting. And I was like, Lord, this is kind of cool. I'm enjoying this, and it didn't dawn on me. But later on, I just realized that was just his way of showing me what all he had in me to do. He was just slowly just revealing things. And I was just like, oh my, okay. And then he had to get me down a little bit to like, this is what I'm doing in you, right? This ain't you.
Humble yourself.
Remember? Yeah. Humble yourself. Okay. Definitely had to have a season of that. But, for a long time, I didn't call myself an artist and a writer because I was scared too. Because I was scared, like, okay, if I claim this, then what comes with that? What comes with me claiming it? Is somebody going to be right at the door like, no, you're not. Absolutely. Nope. You're not an artist. You're not a writer. Is somebody going to, just be, am I going to get all the haters and the naysayers first that are just going to, continue to beat me down? Like all of the insecurities in my mind were just like, no, I can't claim this. And the complete opposite happened. I had people like, girl, if you don't stop denying what the Lord said you are and get it together and just get it together, And so that probably went off the rails of your question.
No, that was perfect. Because it's like, I feel like we all have those moments. And there are two things that you said that stood out to me. First of all, it's giving David, because like David was just like, I'm here to get my daddy donkeys. And I'm trying to get up out of here. Be a king.
Right.
Well, who? But it's like, God said so. That's who said that is what you're going to do. And that's what you're going to be. So I absolutely love that. And I think you also touched on too, when you were talking about growing into singing and how you love to do it. You enjoyed doing it. You were a part of different groups and opportunities to do it, but you were wondering, like, are people going to receive it well? And the biggest thing, I think it honestly, I will say it changed my life because I still struggle with it. All of us do. But as a creative, I saw this post one time and it was like, you as a creator are just responsible for creating and putting it out there. You have no like reign over reception. And like that freed me. Like I was like, whoa, I receive it. Like that's freedom. There was freedom in that. And I just feel like so many times as artists, as creators, as creatives, as whatever you are, when you are putting something into the world, it is so easy to become wrapped up in like, are people going to like it? Are people going to watch it? Like, girl, if only one person watches or only one person likes it or only one, that's one person who probably needed to see that. And like, it probably changed them, just like that post. And I'm pretty sure it went viral. However, I saw it and now I've like embedded it in me. And like, who knows, the person who wrote that tweet might not have even thought it would be even that deep. So it's just our job to create. We're not out here worrying about reception.
Exactly.
I feel like along that line, so I was all up in your blog because you also have a blog called Writings of Alicia Monai. And there was one particularly that stuck out to me that perfectly segues into it. The lessons of being called, the David experience. And first of all, it was such a word, such a testament to how being a God-led we just got a little extra sauce on that thing. Like, it's just not fair. That's how favorite works. That's just how it works for us. But briefly, you felt God calling you to Atlanta. And you did it. You took that leap of faith that many creatives do, many people do. And you left and you failed. And that just, I was like, oh, this is key. Like, I'm locked in at this point. And in your blog post, you recount sitting on a bench that you contemplated sleeping on, where you accepted, you know what, this is it. I'm going to sleep on this bench, and after this, I'm going home. Yeah. But then you tell us how you went back home. Things moved as they do, because God be moving. And a couple of years later, you found yourself as, you know, a resident of Atlanta now, with the job, with, you know, community, walking past that same bench where you realized you had to give up and go home. That was quite the story. Tell us. I literally, this was me after I read it. I was speechless. I didn't have the word. But I think the idea of correct preparation and timing and doing things that God has asked you to do, but beforehand asking him how, when. Tell us about that, because we don't know how to do that. We just be like, oh, God told me to go, I'm going. Or sometimes I'm supposed to go, I'm scared. Tell us do that.
Because like, even thinking about because like, what else do you say? Even thinking about it, I was wondering to myself, even thinking back, even writing that post, like, Lord, how in the world did you bring that all together? Like, I think about that all the time. And so knowing that I was reading the Bible, when I was reading the Bible, I was going to Bible studies faithfully every week. At that time, it was a house of a family that I love to this day, that we were going to their Bible studies every single week. And I was always inspired by the word. I was always like ready to serve in the, like in the Bible, you know, I was ready to have that strong faith. I was ready to say, yes, Lord, I'm gonna do whatever you ask me to do. I was so ready. And I remember months before the initial thought of moving, there was some things I was struggling with at home, and I had brought it to the attention at Bible study. And I was told that I was going to be making a move. You know, that was the biggest thing. It was like, you are going to be moving. And, you know, I had a couple of ideas. I was like, okay, maybe this is metaphorical. Maybe this isn't an actual move. Maybe I'm just, you know, getting a new apartment, because I felt like suffocated and trapped and a whole bunch of other things. But I felt like I wasn't living to my full potential at the time. And so I was holding on to that, but also believing in all of the stories that I was reading in the Bible of faith, and everybody, you know, taking leaps of faith, from Ruth to Daniel to, you know, even Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Like, all of them, all of those stories I held on to, because like, I was like, I want to believe like that, where I know no matter what I do, I'm going to be okay. You know, I was like that. And also, I think a little part of it was like, I was always a person who loved like fantasy stories and things like that, you know, growing up watching, you know, all the cartoons and Disney and all that stuff. But to me at the time, those stories were like, these are real, you know? So it's like, I can believe that this is real. No, Santa Claus and all of those things are not, but I can believe these things in these Bible are real, and I do. So I can believe in those things that don't make sense, but can actually happen. I believe it can happen, you know? And so when I got the revelation about Atlanta, because I was praying, I was fasting, and Atlanta was the first thing that literally came into my mind. It was an audible, like, Atlanta. And I said, Atlanta? Lord, I've never been to Atlanta. Lord. I said, okay, I'm gonna keep asking, because I'm not sure I heard that right. I could be totally making this up. It could be that's the first A word that popped into my head. I'm telling you, I went through it. I was like, no, that was just literally the first thing that popped into my head. Nope, I'm gonna keep doing this. Kept praying, kept fasting. Atlanta, that's all I heard, right? But like you said, I did not ask the when. I did not ask the how. I did not ask the why. I didn't think about all of that. All I thought about was, oh, the Lord told me what to do, so that means it must be now, so that means I'm going. Like, God answered my prayers, so that's it. I'm just running with that, you know? So it's just being naive in the Lord, right? Not really taking in all of the things that I've read about, like, you know, things like with Abraham. Abraham had to wait with timing. You know, there's a lot of different people in the Bible who had to wait for timing. You know, when God said something was going to happen, like you said, with David, it didn't happen right away, but none of that stuff entered me at the time. So after, I had people who said this to me too, like, you don't want to try to find work. You don't want to, like, people said these things to me. And I said, God got it. He said, he told me to go. He's gonna have it. Like, I was like, he's gonna do it. He told me to go. That means he's gonna do it. That means he got it. When I tell you, to the point where, I don't know what's so funny, think about it now, to the point where I get off the plane and I'm literally like, all right, Lord, do I go left or right? Which way am I going? I promise you. Do I go down this street? Am I taking this bus or this bus? I had to literally I called my brother-in-law at the time and was like, I'm stressed. I don't know. I'm not hearing anything. I don't know. I'm not hearing what he's telling me. And he's like, okay, just look around at the buildings. Do you see a glass building? He's like kind of directing me. And I was like, okay, I'm following. I literally go to this glass building. I asked them if they're hiring. They said yes. I put in an application there. The building next to it had a hotel. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is connected. All right.
Working in the mysterious ways he be doing.
Right. Girl, I had it all. Okay. And then it was not. I learned now, obviously, it was next to Buckhead Church. So that next morning, I went to Buckhead Church. I went to service, got the word. And then I went to them asking for help about shelters and things. Like, do they have any information, whatnot? Now, I'm not going to lie. In my head, I'm like, oh, some nice person is going to see me and they're going to put me up in their house and everything's going to be fine. No, girl, you had to go to look at shelters. You had to go here and here and here and here and here. Like, I spent the entire day looking for shelters. Tired, suitcase busted. Like, so many things went down, but the whole day I'm trying to find these shelters. None of them will let me in. All of them were like, oh, I'm sorry, you have to have a job, or you have to be at least making this much, or blah, 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 blah. And so I went to a hotel that night, $200 left, went to a little cheap hotel, said, all right, Lord, we're going to try this again. I'm going to pray. I spent time in prayer. I just read and prayed in that hotel room, read and prayed. Next day, same exact thing. I went out searching. And that's the day that I found the bench. And that was the first bench that I took a picture of. And that was a church where they're like, I'm so sorry, but we can't unless you have a job. Like, they apologized, but it was still like, I'm so confused. So I remember on that bench crying. I read the inscription. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember reading it and being like, okay, I have to keep pushing. Kept pushing. Got back to that hotel, the first one I was at, and asked, hey, look, I'm low on money. This is how much I have. Can you please let me stay here? I'll clean, I'll serve in the back, whatever I need to do. They were like, no, ma'am, sorry, can't do it. And so that's when I went to the bench right outside, in this little, sweet little area. There was a fountain and, the bushes all pretty and nice, And I took my suitcase and I sat there. And that's when I was like, all right, Lord, if this is what you want, if this is where you want me to sit and stay, if this is where you want me to sleep, I will sleep here. And having that prayer, it was just like a wash of peace filling over me. And it was almost weird. Like, I shouldn't feel this calm, but I am, because I'm like, if this is what you want me to do, we're going to do it. Okay. And then I remember calling my mom and letting her know what was happening. Mistake number one. I told her where I was.
Oh, yeah.
She said, what? And I would never, and I tell you, I got so many phone calls. After that, I got so many phone calls.
Oh, yeah, because mama got to call everybody, and she got to
tell everybody.
You know what Alicia did?
My aunt called me. My best friend called me. My two other best friends called me. They like, girl, I'm on my way. I'm going to drive the 16 hours. And I'm like, please don't. Please. I'm fine. I'm telling everybody I'm fine. No, I didn't much. So I remember my mom, I think, overdrafted her bank account just to send me, some money to say, look, please just get a room and come home tomorrow. Please just get a room and come home tomorrow. And so I ended up just bowing down, getting the room, and immediately getting into that room, laying on that bed, I cried for hours, feeling so defeated, feeling so sad, feeling like just the worst person in the world. Like, Lord, I was disobedient. I'm not like the people in the Bible. They listened to you. I didn't listen to you. Look what happened. I didn't do it. Like bawling. And even somebody called me, some gentleman that I met was calling saying, they were coming to check on me because I was reaching out to people, and I didn't even feel good about that in my spirit. So I didn't even call him back. I just cried myself to sleep. I couldn't even read my Bible that night. And then the next morning, I got on a very uncomfortable 20-hour bus ride back to Pennsylvania. And
wow.
it was probably one of the worst feelings I've ever had. Just like, Lord, I disappointed you. I disappointed you. I didn't do what you told me to do, Lord. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, oh man, I went through that season of depression was scary. Like, I was ready to give up everything. I was ready to be done. I was absolutely no good. And then the next day, I don't even know if I put this in the blog. The very next day in Pittsburgh, I got a call for a job interview.
Wow.
I was like,
I just had to stick it out for 24 more hours.
20 hours.
But God is intentional. I always say God is intentional in what was supposed to happen. What if you were supposed to get that job, it would have happened 24 hours before when you were still in Atlanta?
Exactly.
And I think this story, because obviously we see where you are now. And if you read the blog, I highly recommend it. Read the blog, read her books, everything. But you see that, where you were supposed to be is where you are now. Everything worked out how it was supposed to. And sometimes I truly believe that as creators, and especially as God-led creators, the idea of giving up, like when we have to give something over to God, we confuse it with giving up when he just wants us to give it to him so he can help carry it. So I think that's just like a beautiful testament to that. And so thank you for sharing that story. And I was like, I've got to ask her about it while we're here. And I just want to know, like, how has that lesson influenced, who you are today, especially as a writer and a creative?
Man, oh man, if my sister could see this right now, because we have so many conversations about faith. I think ever since I've been in Atlanta, faith has been, there's a lot of lessons that the Lord has been teaching me, but faith has been the biggest one because he's been knocking down my humbleness. Knocking down my pride. He's been knocking down me just relying on myself and planning to do things myself and, having a backup plan and being able to say, oh, I know where this and this and this is coming from. And the more I've been going through life, the more he's like, this is how I'm teaching you to trust me. And he's always bringing that story back, always saying, you remember how I brought you here? You remember what I did? And each thing that comes across my life after that, each trial, each situation, each decision that I have to make, I think about that. I think about how I believed in him when a lot of people didn't. And even when I tried and failed and he brought it back to me, I believed again. And I did do the work because he pushed me to do the work. He led it and I trusted him. And he continues to remind me, remember how that was? That's not stopping. That's not stopping just because of this moment, just because I got you here. There are going to be many things in life where I'm going to need you to trust me that same way. And it's been a struggle, absolutely. But then I'm like, I remember, and I'm like, okay, or somebody will remind me. My sister all the time, remember when the Lord brought you to Atlanta? Remember that? Like a lot of people help me to see what God has done in that moment with me. And now there are so many other moments and stories where I was like, I had faith in you. It was hard, but I had faith in you because you reminded me who you are. You reminded me that you love me. And you reminded me that I am supposed to be here for a reason.
Yes.
Because you wrote this reason out for me. So I know that if I have faith, if I just trust you, even though it doesn't make sense and I have no clue what I'm doing, where I'm going, I know you're here. And that was the biggest part. It's like, you are here with me. And now I know that I can't doubt that anymore. I doubted it before. And now I hold on to that story like, no, you are there and you still are. And I love you for being there. And I just hold that. I hold that to like with dear life.
And it's hard to believe that sometimes, because physically we don't see God sitting on the couch with us. God isn't sitting at the end of our bed, but when he shows up in the manifestation of like the fruit of the things that he's been planting in us, like for example, you just had a opening night poetry show for the release of your book, Just Being Honest. My goodness, look at that. Tell us about Just Being Honest. Like, how would you describe this work, and how would you compare it to your previous work?
A faith walk.
Okay.
I say that because the next, I believe, lesson and season that I'm in addition to holding on to faith, is being humbled and being transparent. There were so many things in my life where I lived to please other people. I lived to satisfy the needs of other people. And in doing that, I hid a lot of myself. I hid a lot of the truth about myself, a lot of the things that I went through, the emotions behind what I went through. Being told I'm too immature, being told I'm too emotional, being told things are not that serious, or, the eyes and like that I would get based off of knowing and saying certain things like, huh? Like what? And taking those in so internally and taking them personally that it hid me so much. And so when it comes to poetry, that was the one thing that I had that I could be honest with. Ooh. That was the one thing that I had that I loved so much that I could, whether I'm sad, whether I'm angry, whether I'm hurt, whether I'm lustful, whether like all of the things that I was going through, is like, I can write about it and it'd be okay. The Lord can read my writing, even if I can't say it out loud, and it'd be okay. So holding on to that, getting into a deep season of my writing being really therapeutic and transformative for me. The class that I go to a workshop. Shout out to my favorite, one of my favorite people, I Am Genetics, who, hosts this workshop every month out of one of my favorite coffee shops. Started going to this workshop and really getting into more, in-depth poetry and the purposes and meanings behind it, and being able to be even more transparent with my writing. And she was teaching me and telling me how much I thought I was being honest with my writing. And I was still sugarcoating things. I was still trying to just be metaphorical and not really say the things because I was too scared to say the things. And I had to sit back with my first book, a piece that she actually brought out of there when we had one of our lessons. And she was like, you're still not even saying the thing.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, like, I thought I was. I just thought I was being poetic about it. It's like, no. Sometimes you need to say it, need to be direct. And it really hit me how scared I was to do so. But also in my heart, like in the depths of my soul, I wrestled for months because I was like, Lord, I want your honesty. I asked the Lord one time, I was like, Lord, I want the wisdom of Solomon, and I want honesty. I want to be real. Like, I desire that so much. I desire it when I'm reading and watching things, when I'm watching movies, when I'm listening to people talk. I want what's real. I want the truth. I want your truth. And it, like, to the point where I cried for days with different things going on in life. And it was just like, none of this stuff is real. How people are acting, nothing's real. Social media, nothing is real. And I just got boggled down by it. And so when I came back to poetry and I came back to that conversation I had with Jeanette, and I was like, okay, it starts with me.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with me. I have to start being honest. And so
that you do.
And so when I started writing and going back to all these pieces, because a lot of the pieces in this book actually were, I'll say about maybe 50 or 60% of them were started in that class that I had. And, pieces that I just started in class but didn't really finish. And I had to really sit with them. Like, Lord, what are we saying here? What do you want me to say here? What do you want me to pour out? And saying, okay, it's time to get these out, And I wrestled with it for a little while. I was like, maybe I could change this. And he was like, no.
And, I love that you bring that up, because we dive into some pretty meaty and messy, or maybe not messy, but delicate topics within the work. It's just very honest, which is why I say that. And I think the Christian community, the community of believers, we lack that, because just because we're striving to be pure and we're to be like God doesn't mean we can't say the word sex, or we can't acknowledge that as humans we desire, or we can't talk about lust, or we can't talk about anger, we can't talk about hurt or pain or triggers or traumas. And I feel like this work did such a beautiful job of addressing just that. So I mean, beautiful job. And it was beautiful to see how you were able to kind of walk us through that process and what it looked like. Because I also feel like as believers and creatives, it's a little bit hard to stay true to who we are and the human experience, because we're so wrapped up in like being spiritual. And it's like, I got to put on this front. But it's like, same thing with my book. One of my chapters, me and God was tussling. I was like, no, I'm not putting that in there. Like, okay, you got me to write the book, but put this in there, this chapter? No, absolutely not. He's like,
you're like, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know about that one. He's like, no, tell the whole story, because all of it is a part of the testimony. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But going through the book, and I do believe you have it with you. We want to see it. The audience wants to see it. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So this is it. Once you go purchase it, you'll see the ticker at the bottom telling you exactly where to see that, where to go get it. But y'all, so whenever I have my poets in the building, we're gonna go through this thing where I pull out some bars, because listen, it was some moments in this book where I was like, my God, this was bars. Like, it's giving Rap Genius, but for poets. I want to do that. Rap Genius, but for poets.
Done.
So we're gonna go through these bars. I'm gonna pull up a couple. And you may or may not remember, like, right offhand where the line comes from. Feel free to let us know. But we want you to watch, like, the process, like the creative genius behind it, because like God is giving you this beautiful gift. I love words. God is giving you this beautiful gift of words and putting thoughts together in a way that impacts people. Like, it's gonna stick with them because it's a bar, but also it's like, dang, that's tea. So first one, I ain't pleased so I could matter. To provide reasons for my existence, so don't judge me if I'm forced to if how I'm forced to exist doesn't make sense. That's
you had to pick that one, didn't you? You had to pick that one. Okay, Lord, if that's what we're doing. Okay. So so with that one in particular, you had to pick that one. Oh, Lord. For that one in particular, I wrestled a lot with homosexuality and changing myself in order to, essentially please women, because I was wrestling with the fact that I couldn't please men. I had horrible times dating, relationships, all those things were just not really good for me. And so I felt, well, if being with men was just this painful and detrimental, if I couldn't have the man that I wanted, then I would be the man that I wanted.
Wow.
And so that transitioned me to, doing the whole stud thing, the baggy clothes and all of the things, to the point where like all of me changed, my tone, my mentality. Like there was moments I walked around and I saw certain women that I engaged with and I felt like a man inside my brain. And that's how I spoke to them. That's how I talked to them. That's how I moved. And, so writing that piece, I literally had to face myself and accept that that's what was happening. I really had to face the fact that there were people who just didn't understand and know that that's what I was growing through, that's what I was feeling. Even, it had to reflect on people that I've hurt. Because of that, because I was trying to put on a facade for the sake of that person so that they can see me a certain way. And it was also a savior complex too, that I realized I had. And that was a painful thing for me to realize writing that. I felt as though if I couldn't be the person that I thought could save me, then I could go save somebody else. Wow. If a woman was going through something and they were in pain and they were suffering, then I could help. I could be, I could be the one that won't hurt you. I could be the one that won't cause you pain. I could be the one that treats you the way you're supposed to. And so I had to really wrestle. That piece got me. That piece was hard, really, really hard. And so being able to say that truth was scary. Because like that was something maybe one person knew that out loud, maybe one, and I was like, oh wow, am I about to really tell the whole world this? Like, and then the Lord said, you're going to tell the world what I'm doing through you.
Wow.
You're going to tell the world what I'm working in your heart, and be honest about it.
That's
and
so
so I
good.
said, okay,
I guess.
here we go. Right, I guess.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing. And I think too, that touches perfectly on a sermon that we got. So Alicia and I, funny enough, found out we go to the same church. So we gotta love Atlanta. But
Absolutely.
Actually just preached about the idea of something in you being like any darkness in you, any secrets, anything hidden. If you tell one person and you tell another person, obviously these are trusted people that you can trust to build in you and to help you. But if you tell somebody, then they know, and God knows, and then it's no more darkness. And I love that. That just brought me back to that. So I think that's beautiful. Such a beautiful line, and to be honest, so loaded, because like I didn't realize that's what that was beneath it. So that's why we have this bar section. So thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Similar to, I guess, like along the lines of the savior complex you mentioned, you go, I don't like feeling defenseless, so I built fences no one can climb. You ate.
Not me. Not me. Oh, in fact, yeah. Can you read that one again? Oh man,
yes.
Which one was?
I don't like feeling defenseless, so I built fences no one can climb.
Yeah. Oh, that was why? That one's a little harder for me to remember. I remember the line, but I think I'm sitting here trying to find it, child. But I do remember. Yeah. Okay. So I do remember trying to find a way to say how guarded I was, but how guarded I wanted to be. Because I was a person who, when I say my heart was on my sleeve, my heart was on my hands, my heart was like right here, like here, my heart was very just like there, and I was like, no, I actually want to be held back. I want to be strong. I want to be guarded. I want to be, I want to have this icebox because I want to feel safe, and I don't feel safe. And I hated not feeling safe because I didn't want to address the fact that that's just who I was. I am just a person who has my heart on my sleeve. I am just a person who is emotional. That's just who I am. I am an extremely empathetic person. When I say I'm an empathetic person, I mean, I'm the person who can walk into a room and feel when someone is anxious, when someone has a heavy heart, when someone is sad. I can feel it. That's just something that God has done in me. And I used to hate that because it's like, I don't want to feel this. I'm not understanding what this means. It's scary. It is painful. Whether it's my pain or somebody else's pain, it hurts. I don't want to hurt anymore. And so I remember, I honestly, Jazz, I asked the Lord, and I repent for this prayer to this day. I asked him to harden my heart. I asked him to make me angry. I asked him to make me, because I don't want to feel anymore. I said, Lord, I don't want to feel anymore. I don't want to. I don't. It hurts. I don't want to do this anymore. And so he actually took me through a season. He said, okay.
One thing about, listen,
sure that's right?
About our Father, do not ask for nothing you won't really want, because he gonna give it to you.
Hello.
Ooh, I'm scared to see how this went.
He did it. And when I realized that, I was in therapy, and we were talking about some things, and I was reflecting on one of my therapy sessions, and I was like, oh, Lord. I was like, that's what's happening. I said, Lord, no.
Not that's how the weapons prospering. It's me.
The weapons is looking a little close to prospering. They were. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, I did that. I'm so sorry. I said, okay, Lord, I'm sorry. Take it back. This is not who I'm supposed to be. Take it back. Take it back. And like I was in tears, like, Lord, I'm so sorry. Take it back. This is not who I'm supposed to be. I didn't mean it. I was just angry. I was just sad, all the things. And so writing this piece and putting that in there, I was facing it. I was just like, oh wow. Yeah, Lord, that was that was me, huh? that was me, huh? And so I wrote it, and I was like, and the crazy thing is, after writing it and going through the editing process, one of my other beta readers who read it, it was going through it, was actually, talking about me taking that part out or like editing it in some way. I forgot the reason why. Like they had like a logical reason and whatnot, but I was like, no, I can't take that out. I can't take that out. That needs to be there. Because that needs to be,
Yeah.
that needs to be there.
And as so, like, it stood out. It did what it needed to do because I saw it and I was like, this is one of the ones.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got one more bar, and this one you don't have to necessarily explain because I feel like it speaks for itself. But I just thought it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful thought, such a beautiful sentence, and such a beautiful revelation that as believers, they said it in Peter, we are all going through the same things. But it says, I try to stand, I do. Each toe presses firmly into the floorboards with more hope in finding a firm foundation under my feet than in my soul. Let's just let that thing breathe, because this is the one where you got to bring it back when you just. I said, I try to stand, I do. Each toe presses firmly into the floorboards with more hope in finding a firm foundation under my feet than in my soul. Alicia, God was doing a thing when he gave you that, because my Lord, that's just
yeah. Oh yeah.
I felt the heaviness. I felt that, like, as someone who's also searched and I mean, like, sought and seeked and all the ways to explain it, but it's like, God, they say you're a firm foundation, but it's shaky right now. It's rocky. Like, I need help grounding. I'm grabbing the floor. I'm pressing, like, and I just, my God, what can you tell us about that? Beautiful.
Yeah, that was, oh man. I'm trying, like, even just thinking back about that place, it's just wild, for the lack of a better word. But depression was a heavy season for me, especially when I it's so interesting how the enemy works, especially after you've been obedient or you've done the will of God, and he's like, oh no, I'm gonna kill that. And that's exactly what happened. I had just got this house, and that was a whole nother faith walk and blessing in itself. Whole nother story for another day. But I was so thankful. The Lord gave me words and revelation about what this house was going to be for me, what this house was going to be for other people, and I was so happy, because before I was in a roommate situation that wasn't the greatest. And I was just like, Lord, please let me get my own. And this house was a blessing in abundance. I can't even put it into words. And so, of course, the enemy tried to confine me to my room. Just like I was, oh, wow, Lord, just like I was confined into the room where I was before I moved here, where I was confined by depression. I was confined by fear and just the worst sadness I've ever felt in my life, to the point where I spent hours and hours and days in bed, not able to get up, physically not able to remove the blanket from my body, put my feet on the floor, and get up. I looked for any reason to not be at work. I looked for any reason to not get up, not eat anything. And I remember feeling like, Lord, I can't be the person you've called me to be. So just take me now. I can't be her. I can't do it. So just take me now. Just have it. Because I can't be her. I can't do it. And I could see, even with my eyes closed, the four walls of my room just dark, so dark, and the door just feeling so far away all the time. You know, and it's like this isolation, I hate it, but it's safe. You know, this being by myself is safe. I hate it, but it's safe. And then I remember my favorite Psalm, Psalm 51. I try to listen to Psalms 51 and just let my Bible play while I'm sleeping. And one night I did it. I put it on. I listened to it. I cried because I was also wrestling with some sin at the time too, which buried me deeper in depression. You know, just like, okay, Lord, you want me by myself. I can't have my husband. I'm not supposed to focus on marriage. I'm just supposed to be focusing on you. So it feels like I'm just going to be lonely. So if I'm just going to be on this lonely road without my husband, then I might as well just have some fun. Then I might as well just have, you know, a guy come into my house who only wants to use me anyway, like most of these guys do. So I'm just going to use him. I'm going to let him use me, and I'm just going to continue my life. And still thought that I was going to get up on Sundays, serve, and go to church, and everything was going to be cool. Every single time. And I wasn't the person who just had a whole bunch of, no, it wasn't even that. But it was the fact that it took one time, and every single time it happened, the shame ate me alive. Ate me alive. Because it's like, not only am I doing something that I know is killing my body, I'm so disappointing you. Again, after you blessed me with this beautiful home, you told me you told me I was going to have prayer here. This is going to be a house of prayer. You told me that I'm going to have fellowship here. You told me that people are going to come here to feel you, to feel your peace, to feel your love. And look what I just did in my bedroom. How are you still going to use me? How are you going to do it? You can't. And so oh Lord, it ate me alive. It tried to eat me alive.
That's it.
It did.
That's it.
It tried. It tried.
Because that's all the enemy can do when it comes to these things, is try to trick you, manipulate you, try to get you to look at things a different way. But aren't we so glad that we serve a God who's bigger than him, and bigger than all the things, bigger than shame, bigger than all the things we've been through, all of the filth, all of it. So Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for just being honest, y'all. Literally and creatively, the book is called Just Being Honest. You also have some other work. So tell us where we can follow you, what other works you have, and give us an exclusive. You got something coming up fresh for us to look forward to?
Okay, so yes, the book Just Being Honest can be found at the website below, Alicia-Monai _site. The book is there. Also, I believe I still have links to my first book, which is Flawed Human Love Soul, which is just kind of the beginning of me introducing myself, you know, just being a flawed Christian, just trying to be loved, just trying to give love, you know. Also, there is my art as well on the website, and but I believe a link to my blog. My blog is also, I believe it's linked on there. If it's not, it will be. But I have a lot of my art that's going to be on there as well. There's some pieces there, but I'm going to be adding more. And just I think the next biggest thing that's going to be happening is, like I said, I'm working on an art therapy program. And so I'm going to be working on art retreats that I'm going to be, you know, teaching and hosting. That will be some here in Atlanta, because I do art classes, from just like teaching workshops to like art therapy, you know, holistic, you know, experiences, I'll say. So right now we're finalizing things for me to host a retreat in Tennessee. which is going to be amazing.
Cabin.
Yes, I'm very, very excited about
It's just something about cabin. It's like a cabin to poetry pipeline. Like you just go to a cabin and I don't know. God be doing this thing and ain't no reception, but the line to the creator is
Hello.
You hear me?
Hello. And it was. And that was the birthing of that, because I actually stayed on the site where it's going to be.
Wow.
And so, speaking to somebody who I was working with there, God gave us the idea, because I was like, Lord, what am I going to do with this certification? I'm getting the certification. What am I going to do with it? I have no idea. And, he revealed it to me in that time and being up there. And so now I'm like, okay, let's go. So all of that will be on the website as well. Everything is still, it's getting finalized, but I'm very, very, very excited about it. So it's going to be in grading, writing, and art, and just having nature combining all of the three. So again, I'm a big nature person, and I believe one of the most beautiful experiences is meeting God in one of his creations, right? And where you can reach him. I mean, yes, he goes anywhere. He's omnipresent, right? But there's something about being in nature and talking to the Lord. No interruptions, no distractions, just like he's undeniable, It's just something about it. So that's in the works as well. Yes.
I absolutely love it. And I know you mentioned Flawed Human Love, so I got that right here.
You too got
it. Yes. I have a copy. Now, this is your artwork.
Yes.
Come on, look at that. So you get the artwork and you get art. And then you got the artist. And that is what In Creative Color is all about. Alicia, thank you again so much for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here to share your story. We're so glad you're here. And we cannot wait to see what else, God brings out of you. So y'all make sure y'all follow her. You saw her ad. It was on the screen. Make sure you go over to her website to grab any of her books. She also has a journal. And Alicia, thank you again for being with us.
All right. Thank you for having me. God bless.
Of course. And y'all, listen, like I said, if I'm on your screen, that means it's Fourth Sunday. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of In Creative Color. And I cannot wait for y'all to join the next one. I'll see y'all next month. Bye.
It all starts with a spark. Like this thought or this vision in your head that gives you these ideas and these visions of who you want to be. And I can remember myself sitting in my room, writing in my journal about stories and characters of people I had no idea who they were. And I just knew that that's who I was going to be. I was going to write books. I was going to move to Atlanta, and I was going to become this big-time authoress. And I did that. I got the awards. I got the bestsellers list. I met some phenomenal people, and I've helped other people dream out loud. I think that when it comes down to dreaming, it's more than about just getting it done. It's about having fun and enjoying life while you do it. So y'all dream out loud with me.
Hey y'all, I am Jasmine Bunch, but now and forever to be known as your fave, Jazz on Fire. And I am one of the newest hosts of the Sunday Craft Chats. Catch me every fourth Sunday hosting In Creative Color. Can't wait to see y'all there.